Welcome, my name is Peter Strong. I specialize in online mindfulness therapy, which I offer via Skype for the treatment of anxiety disorders, depression, addiction, OCD, and also for work with agoraphobia. So if you are looking for an online psychotherapist for agoraphobia, then please go to my website and learn more about this online therapy service. Clearly, if you are suffering from agoraphobia, it's really important that you find an online psychotherapist to work with, because it's so difficult to leave home and you need regular weekly support in the beginning to learn very specific strategies for overcoming your anxiety. And that's what I will teach you during these online therapy sessions. I will teach you how to work with your anxiety using mindfulness therapy, which is a very effective approach indeed. And I have developed a system called mindfulness-based exposure therapy, which I will teach you during these Skype therapy sessions, that will allow you to progressively increase confidence and overcome the specific anxiety associated with specific challenges that you are struggling with. So we design a series of exposure challenges. That's the first step. And then you work through these, one challenge after the other. But we do a great deal of training with each challenge so that we can successfully execute that challenge without experiencing anxiety. That is the key. Exposure by itself is not very effective. You have to train to overcome the anxiety before you do the exposure challenge. And that's what mindfulness-based exposure therapy is all about. Basically, you play through the particular challenge that you're working on in your mind, in your imagination. So it's imaginal exposure. You look specifically for those triggers that trigger an anxiety reaction. So you look very specifically for those anxiety reactions. You look very specifically for the anxiety-producing thoughts that are associated with those reactions. So we're looking at the mind to see how it works, how it actually produces that anxiety. Then we start to train with the anxiety itself and with the reactive thoughts that feed that anxiety. We train to develop more and more independence from those emotional and thought reactions, which are habitual by nature. The best way to understand anxiety is to look at it as being a series of habits, of conditioned habitual reactions. And these habits operate subconsciously without your full awareness. So they have this automatic quality to them. Now, when we bring those reactions into consciousness, which is what we're doing in mindfulness therapy, we can begin to break this blind habitual nature of those reactions. We begin to stop the process that feeds the anxiety. So this is a very important part of mindfulness therapy, is learning how to consciously work with those thoughts and with the emotion without becoming reactive, without becoming overwhelmed by reactivity, without becoming consumed by the anxiety. We learn to see the anxiety as an object in the mind, instead of becoming identified with that object. This is very important because fundamentally, no emotion or thought can cause anxiety. It only has power when we blindly identify with the mental objects, the thoughts, the emotions. When you blindly identify with them, then they take over. But when you can remain objectively with those emotions and thoughts, then they have no power to cause anxiety. The emotion of anxiety is not the problem. The problem is that we become identified with it and identified with this whole array of anxiety-producing thoughts that feeds that anxiety. So we're learning to disengage from that reactive process. And we do that by consciously meditating on the anxiety and those thoughts. We have to develop more consciousness, not less. So we run through the particular challenge that we're about to do. We may spend 15 to 20 minutes meditating on that challenge. When we have successfully countered and neutralized those anxiety reactions and the anxiety-producing thoughts, then is the time to go and do the live challenge. And basically, you will be putting into practice what you have been training to do during that preliminary meditation on the challenge that you have identified. So it's training followed by live challenge to reinforce that training, and then possibly we would do some more meditation after the challenge to work on any residual anxiety that got triggered. So we train with that in the same way. Then after a suitable rest period, you would repeat that exposure challenge. You would meditate before the challenge, you then do the challenge, meditate after the challenge. And so we keep cycling through these specific challenges until you are completely free from anxiety and you are completely confident in that specific challenge situation. Then you move on to the next challenge on your list and we work through that in the same way. So if you take this strategic, mindfulness-based approach to exposure therapy, then you will see results very quickly. And indeed, most of my clients see substantial improvements after working with me for 3 or 4 weeks. I have worked with clients who have not been able to leave their house sometimes for years, or if they leave their house, it's so stressful and so anxiety producing that it's completely overwhelming. I've worked with people and successfully overcome their anxiety through this process of mindfulness-based training. If you would like to learn more and you'd like to schedule some therapy sessions with me to overcome your anxiety, then please do contact me and let's set up a Skype therapy session. You will see some substantial improvements even after the first session, because the focus of my teaching is to give you the tools that you can practice. That's what's important. Treatment-based approaches are not really very effective because they don't give you the tools to develop yourself. This is not a treatment-based process. There are no medications involved. It's a process of you learning how to work with your anxiety yourself. So if you'd like to learn more, please contact me. Thank you.